students. So, this is the part 2 or the continuation of the discussion of our topic, solving corresponding parts of congruent triangles. So, let's start with the presentation of the solution and example number 2.
Let's have another example. So I have here triangle ROS is congruent to triangle CAN. Okay? I have here triangle ROS is congruent to triangle CAN. So this angle is congruent to this angle. Kasi as you can see, they have the same markings. And this angle is congruent to this angle. Now let us give first the corresponding congruent angles and corresponding congruent sides. So dapat ito muna ang inuuna natin na i-supply o dapat ito muna ang una nating dinedetermine bago tayo mag-solve for x. Alright? Kasi magagamit po natin siya. So angle R is congruent to, so as you can see, yung may pareho ng markings, angle C. Angle O is congruent to angle A. And angle S is congruent to angle N. Okay? So we have triangle ROS is congruent to triangle CAN. If you will try to check it here, so titingnan natin R corresponds to C. So O corresponds to A, so therefore they are congruent. And S corresponds to N, so they are also congruent. Next, let's proceed to the corresponding congruent side. So we have RO. Okay, so RO is congruent to CA. Okay, so we have, ito, tingnan natin yung marking. So from ito, yung single to double, so RO, so CA. Or pwede rin naman po dito tayo tumingin. RO, yung first two rin, CA. Okay? Next, so we have OS. So OS is congruent to AN. Okay? So wag po tayo malilito ha. Baka pag ito kinuha natin, akala po natin dito din. Pwede po nating tingnan dito, i-check dito. So OS, last two, so last two rin, AN. And we have RS. So, RS, RS. So, CN. Okay. Next. So, we are asked to solve for X. Okay? So, unang-una mong titingnan sa figure, yung mga posibleng makatulong sa'yo on how to solve for X. Okay? So, paano natin makukuha si X? Walang given kahit isang angle. Okay? So, we can only get the measure of this angle kung meron measure dito at least 1. Okay? But since meron siyang mark, okay? So, kahit wala siyang measure dyan, kung titingnan natin, since meron siyang single mark, ibig sabihin, this angle is congruent to this. So, this is also 30 degrees. Okay? So, wala man siyang measure, pero kung titingnan natin, meron siyang markings. Okay? And then next, since ito, pareho siya doon, so this is also 110 degrees. Okay? So, meron na tayong dalawang measure ng angles. So, we can now find the measure of angle X or N. Okay? So, paano natin makukuha itong X na to? Okay? So, tatandaan, dito papasok yung concept ng triangle sum theorem. Ano po bang ibig sabihin nito? Ito po yung sum ng interior angles is always 180. So, ang lagi pong sum ng interior angles ng triangle natin is always 180. So, dapat, kung meron ka na ditong 30 at meron ka na ditong 110, dapat itong measure ng angle na to ay mag-a-add o magto-total ng 180. Okay? Para maging 180 sila. So, ang gagawin natin, i-add natin si angle X plus 30 plus 110, equate natin siya sa 180. So we will have angle X plus this is 140 is equal to 180. So angle X is equal to 180 minus 140. So we have 140. So therefore angle X is equal to 40 degrees. Okay, so angle X is equal to 40 degrees. Now therefore this is 40 degrees. Now, paano po natin ito makukuha? So, since si angle N, pwede mo itong tingnan. Si angle N ay congruent kay angle S. So, therefore, your angle S is equal to 40 degrees also. So, this is 40 degrees. Okay? That's why it is very important na alam po natin ang corresponding congruent angles and sides. Let's have example number 3. So I have here triangle SIT is congruent to triangle RUN. Okay, so SIT is congruent to triangle RUN. Okay, now in this case, meron na tayong unknown. So how are we going to solve? Or we will be solving here algebraically. So paano natin makukuha itong measure ng angle na to kung hindi natin alam yung value nitong n? So we have to solve first for the value of n or yung unknown natin for us to determine the measure of this angle. Okay, so unang gagawin, identify muna natin yung corresponding congruent angles and sides. So angle S is congruent to angle R. Okay, so angle S is congruent to angle R. Kung nalilito, pwede natin tingnan yung name niya, yung congruent statement. So angle S is congruent to angle R. Angle I is congruent to angle U. And angle T is congruent to angle N. Okay, so we have now corresponding congruent angles. Let's proceed to sides. So SI is congruent to RU. So SI is congruent to RU. IT is congruent to UN. And ST, first and last, is congruent to RN. Okay? So now, we are asked to solve for n. Okay? So we need to look for the value of this variable or unknown. Paano natin siya makukuha? Pwede mo itong gamitin. Angle N is congruent to angle T. Okay? So, based dito sa ating corresponding congruent angles, that your angle N is congruent to angle T. Okay? So, pwede kasi natin siyang gamitin. So, therefore, if they are congruent, then they are equal. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ito, si angle N, since congruent siya doon, equal ang measures niyan. Okay? So, pwede ba nating sabihin, di ma'am, 50 rin to? Yes, 50 rin yan. But the question kasi is, solve for N. So, ano yung value ng N? Yun ang hahanapin natin. So, kunin natin si angle N, that is 2N plus 10, is equal to angle T, that is 50. So, we will solve for N. So, that is 2N is equal to 50 minus 10. So, that is 2N is equal to 40. Now, divide both sides by 2. So, 40 divide 2, that is N is equal to 20. Okay. So, we now have the value of N, which is 20. So, pwede natin i-check. Kunin natin yung measure ni angle N. So, your angle N is 2N plus 10 degrees, right? So, i-substitute natin dito yung 20. Let's see if they are really equal to each other. Okay? So, dapat tingnan natin, pag sinubstitute natin dito yung N, dapat equal nga siya sa angle T kasi base dito. Okay? So, substitute natin si 20. So, 2 times 20, that is 40 plus 10. So, your angle N is equal to 50 degrees. So, angle N is equal to 50 degrees, which is congruent to your angle T. So, based dito, they are congruent. So, it is correct. Let's have example number 4. So, I have here triangle MAN is congruent to triangle DEN. Okay, so take note. Our triangle here is naka-flip. Okay, so kung gusto mo siyang ayusin, you have to flip the other triangle, o ito yung tinatawag nating by reflection. Okay? So, let us complete first the table. So, angle M is congruent to angle D. Angle A is congruent to angle E. And angle N is congruent to angle N. So, this is by reflexive property of congruence. Next, we have MA is congruent to, so yung first two, DE. AN is congruent to EN. And MN is congruent to DN. Okay. Actually dito, pwede mo siyang i-check talaga dito sa mismong congruent statement. Okay? Kung paano yung arrangement, yun yung correspondence. So, ang tanong, we will solve for x. So, since ang hinahanap natin dito ay x at meron tayong x dito, dito, at dito, so lahat ng sides ng triangle ay may x. So, ibig sabihin, we will be having 3 sets of solutions here. Okay? So, let's start with MN. Okay, so stand tayo, dito na lang muna tayo mag-start sa MA. So, MA, gamitin natin ito since MA is congruent to DE. Okay, so MA is congruent to DE. Therefore, these two sides of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay? I mean, equal. Okay, so since congruent itong dalawa, therefore the measure of these sides are also equal. So, MA is equal to DE. Now, since MA is equal to DE, i-equate lang po natin siya. So, ano yung MA mo? 19. And yung DE mo is 6x minus 5. Okay? So, 19 is equal to 6x minus 5. Why? Kasi these two sides of two congruent triangles are equal. So, let us solve. So, we will have 6x. So, 19 magiging plus 5. Okay? So, we have 19 plus 5, that is 24. Divide both sides by 6. Okay? So, divide both sides by 6. 24 divide 6. We will get x is equal to 4. So, ayusin na lang po natin. Kapag nandito yung variable, ayusin na lang po natin. So, x is equal to 4. So, ibig sabihin, pag sinubstitute natin dito si 4, 6 times 4 is 24, minus 5, that is 19. So, pareho po siya doon. Next, let's solve for x for AN and EN. So, since AN is congruent to EN, therefore, they are also equal. Okay? So, AN is equal to EN. So, kunin natin yung AN, which is 30. And then si EN, that is 4x minus 2. So, let us solve for x. So, we will have 30 by APE. This will become plus. So, 30 plus 2 is equal to 4x. So, we have 32 is equal to 4x. So, divide both sides by 4. 32 divide 4, this is 8. So, x is equal to 8. Now, so, pag sinubstitute natin dito si 8, 4 times 8, this is 32. Minus 2, that is 30, which is equal and congruent to this side. Okay, so AN na 30 is congruent to this side, which is also 30. And last, we have MN. So, mn is congruent to dn, so therefore, they are equal. So, ito si mn, so we have 3x minus 5, and then ito si dn, which is 70. So, let us solve. 3x is equal to 70 plus 5. So, we have 3x is equal to 75. Divide both sides by 3. So, 75 divide 3, that is 25. Okay? So, since ito po ay 70, so dapat 70 din to. So, isubstitute natin yung 25 dito. So, 3 times 25, that is 70. 70 minus 5, I mean 75. So, 75 minus 5, that is 70, which is congruent to this side. Let's have example number 5. I have here triangle CAT is congruent to triangle DOG. So, meron tayo ditong CAT is congruent to triangle DOG. Okay? So, complete the table. So, what are the corresponding congruent angles and sides? So, we have angle C is congruent to angle D. Angle A is congruent to angle O. So, as you can see, meron siyang markings. Okay? So, madali natin ma-identify yung corresponding congruent angles and sides. So, we have angle C is congruent to angle D. Angle A, may 2 markings siya, which is congruent to angle O. And angle T is congruent to angle G. So, what are the corresponding congruent sides? So, we have CA is congruent to DO. So, since dun siya nag-start, CA, so DO. Okay? And then, AT is congruent to AT. Pwede ka dito timingin. AT is congruent to OG. And CT is congruent to DG. Okay. So, ang pinapahanap sa atin is we are asked to solve for A, B, and C. So, since bawat side natin dito is ito si A, congruent siya doon. Si B, congruent siya dito. And si C, congruent siya doon. So, ito yung mga pinapahanap sa atin, yung unknown. So, bawat side merong isang unknown. Okay? Bawat congruent sides ng dalawang triangles na to ay meron tayong hahanapin. So, gamitin natin yung nasa corresponding congruent sides. So, let's solve first for A. So, for A, we have AT is congruent to OG. So, therefore, since they are congruent, they are equal. So, kunin natin itong measure ni AT. So, that is 3A. Kunin natin si OG, that is 2A plus 7. And then, let us solve. So, we have 3A minus 2A is equal to 7. So, we have A is equal to 7. So, pag chinek natin, dapat, if A is equal to 7, dapat congruent ito. So, isubstitute natin siya sa AT, which is 3A. So, 3 times 7, that is 21. Isubstitute din natin siya sa OG. So, let's see if they are congruent. So, OG is equal to 2A plus 7. Substitute natin si 7. So, we have 2 times 7. This is 14. 14 plus 7. This is also 21. So, these two sides of congruent triangles are congruent. Next, let's solve for B. So, for B, we have CT is congruent to DG. So, ito naman pong side na to. So, CT is congruent to DG. So, since they are congruent, therefore, they are equal. So, kunin natin yung measure ni CT, which is 2B plus 11. And then si DG, which is 5B minus 1. So, let us solve. So, we have 5B minus 2B and then 11 plus 1. Okay? Or 1 plus 11. So, we will have 12 is equal to 5 minus 2, that is 3B. So, divide both sides by 3. 12 divide 3, that is 4. So, your B is equal to 4. Now, i-check natin. Yung CT natin ay 2B plus 11. So, i-substitute natin yung B doon sa measure ng ating CT. So, dapat kapareho niya ng sukat yung DG. So, eto muna. So, substitute natin si 4. So, we have 2 times 4, that is 8 plus 11, that is 19. Next, i-check natin siya dito sa DG kasi these two sides of congruent triangles are congruent. So, they must have the same measure. So, DG is equal to 5B minus 1. So, substitute natin si 4. 5 times 4, that is 20 minus 1. DG is also 19. So, they are congruent. So, let us solve for C. So, we have AC or CA. Okay, so CA, if you want to write AC, pwede rin naman po. Basta, kung AC ang nilagay mo, dapat OG, hindi DO. Ay, OD. Okay, kung AC ang nilagay mo, dapat OD. Okay, importante po kasi ang order. Okay, next. So, dito, we're done with A, B, and B. So, let's proceed to C. So, ang C natin, we have CA is congruent to DO. So, dito yan. Nag-base tayo dito sa nakuha natin. So, therefore, if they are congruent, they are equal. So, kunin natin yung CA. We have 2C plus 3. At si DO is 5C minus 12. So, let us solve. So, we have 5C. Ito, transpose natin, magiging minus 2C. And then si 3, transpose natin ito, magiging plus 12. So, 12 plus 3, that is 15, is equal to 5 minus 2, that is 3C. Divide both sides by 3. So, 15 divide 3. So, we will get C is equal to 5. Okay, so let us check. Our CA is 2C plus 3. Okay, 2C plus 3. So, dapat kapareho niya ng sukat itong OD, I mean DO. So, i-substitute natin si 5 dito sa C. So, 2 times 5, that is 10, plus 3, so we have 13. And then, for DO, so dapat equal sila kasi they are congruent. DO is equal to 5C minus 12. So, substitute din natin si 5 dito. So, 5 times 5, that is 25. 25 minus 12, this is also 13.
Okay, so let's summarize what we had discussed. The definition of congruent triangles. Two triangles are congruent if and only if their corresponding parts are congruent. Always remember the symbol for correspondence and for congruence, and also the CPCTC that stands for corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. That's all for today's topic, and I hope you enjoy watching this video. Again, this is Ma'am Jenny Babes Diarimias, your mathematics teacher. See you on the next video. Bye-bye!